All right, it's the top of the hour, and welcome everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on your location in the world. My name is Eve Fabros, and I'm the online marketing manager here at Action Coach. We have people attending from all over the world for today's exclusive webinar, Pulling Profits, which is an exponential business growth webinar with your host, Brad Sugars. Pulling Profits is Brad's 17th book written, and it is co-authored with Action Coach Monty Wyatt. Today's learnings with Brad will provide you with a sharp level of awareness, enabling you to see things about your business you could not see before, or perhaps were unwilling to acknowledge. And once you've seen your potential for adding zeros, this Pulling Profits handbook that you can regularly use to build and maintain what you need to achieve in your exponential business growth. So without further delay, I will turn it over to Action Coach founder and chairman, Brad Sugars.
Well, good morning or good afternoon, everybody. Looking forward to a great day today, chatting about pulling profits out of a hat and how you can add zeros to the bottom line of your business. You know, it's interesting when we start to create this book, and it literally came out of the idea that someone said to me, you know, it just seems like magic the way the growth of these companies that are out there in the marketplace. It just seems like magic to get these businesses growing the way they do. You know, IKEA and Amazon and these great companies. And you sit there and you start thinking, well, it's not really magic, it's a formula. So what is the formula for this growth, and how do we actually make that formula work? So really where I want to start is by saying, well, what does a great business look like? How do we actually define a great business? And what would you say it is? Of course, it's got exponential growth. But the core behind all of this stuff is by sitting back and saying, you know, what we really need is a business that has 5 core things. It's sustainable, okay? So the business can continue and keep growing. It's predictable. There's a stability to this thing. It's consistent, and it has an emotional connection. And if you look at all 5 of these areas, sustainable growth, predictable cash flows, stable, so the people are there, the people don't leave, their customers stay, consistent, so that we know what we're getting with it, we know the profitability, we know that we're getting the level of delivery of the product or service, and that people love coming to work there. I think that's a very big part of it. So all of these things put together in my books is what we define as a business that's adding zeros, a business that is getting great results across the board. So if you're thinking about your business adding zeros, you look at those 5 things and say, do I have sustainability, predictability, stability? Do I have consistency and emotive connection? And maybe even rate yourself on each of those. In fact, at the end of this, I'll be sending you a link so that you can check your score of it. So adding zeros, where do we want to do that? Because it's not just profitability that we want to add zeros to. See, if you think about getting new customers, you want to add zeros to number of customers. You think about retention of your team and having, you know, even team engagement, employee engagement. You really want to build a great company. And in order to build a great company, your team, your executive team, yourself, the organization needs to be adding zeros across the board. And again, if we go back to the 5 main areas and we start to think, how do we do this in every aspect of our business? How do we do this in a way that it works for everyone? So what Monty and I did in putting the book together is we sat down and examined which of our customers actually have those 5 things. Where do we see companies with sustainability, predictability, stability, consistency, and emotive connection? And what is the difference between those companies and other companies that are out there in the marketplace? What is it that they're doing differently and therefore getting those results that others aren't getting? And I think that that was an important distinction to say, where are the ones that are getting that? So let's look at what your business can do. The 5 areas or the 5 disciplines, and we use the word discipline because it's not something you do once. If you want to grow your organization, it's not something where one time you magically fell upon this great business development strategy. No, it's a discipline of business development. You have to employ the discipline and be good at it all day, every day. Employ the discipline of strategy all day, every day. People, execution, and mission. So these 5 areas are the 5 cores of pulling profits out of a hat. Now, by the way, If you haven't bought your book, jump on right now. Go to Books A Million or Barnes & Noble or Amazon or any great bookstore and find it. Hudson's at every airport, and find the book and get yourself a copy so that you can go in details. Today, we don't have a long time together, but the book is 380 or 390 odd pages. It goes into a lot of detail. When you get it, one thing you'll notice, it's a heavy, heavy dang book. It's 2.5 or almost 3 pounds. Now, back to these 5 disciplines. We're going to go through each of them in detail over the rest of this webinar and go through it. Which, by the way, if you do have any questions, please type them in. If we've got time at the end, Eve will read them out for me, and I'll answer any questions that you've got. Now, let's go through and say, what is it that we need to be doing to be able to think like an adding zeros company? Because that really is a big part of it. Are you thinking like an adding zeros company? Because too often I get people that are sort of sitting there going, okay, well, I want to add zeros, but I'm not thinking that way. And this is where I get stuck into the whole theory of abundance. Businesses where I guess the best distinction of this is, when I buy a business, I don't go in looking for a business and think, how can I add 10 or 20% to this? I go in looking at a business thinking, how can I double it, triple it, increase it tenfold, take it into 100 countries, that sort of thing. I don't look at the ability to hold the business back. You have to get to a point. And if you go watch that movie with Ray Kroc, the founder, where he walked in and he said, how can I have this business in hundreds of locations around the world? And all of a sudden, he started to think differently than the McDonald brothers. Think about the organization you are running and start to say, okay, if we had to get 1 billion in sales just in our division, or 1 billion in sales, or 100 million, depending on the size of the organization you're in, if we had to get that, what would we do? Too many business people, too many executives, too many entrepreneurs think small. That is not what we're looking at here in pulling profits. And adding zeros mindset is entirely different to that. So let's go back to it then. If we want to be adding zeros, if we want to be getting these 5 things, then we've got to look at who are the 5 main constituents, meaning who are the people that actually win out of this? Who are the people that we need to satisfy in order for this company to be doing better, in order for this company to keep growing? Who are the people that actually need to be getting a result? Let's take a look at them. Hang on, let me just go back one step, previous one. If you think about who the business needs to satisfy, and just remember this, everyone sort of thinks that, you got to satisfy the customer. They forget that there are other major constituents. And, I think that the best way to put this is look at the 5. Our 5 main constituents that we look at is the company has to be a constituent. So the actual company itself has to win. The customers have to win. The team members have to win. The stakeholders, being the shareholders or the owners or the board of directors of the company, has to win. And the community has to win. The people that the business serves, being the customers, is one. But the community as a whole needs to win from this business. And we see that happening time and again where, a large company comes in and puts in a new employment center. I live here in Las Vegas, and we just get a football team moving to town. Well, it's not just the football team that wins, the community wins, all of the extra jobs, all of the extra infrastructure that's built. But how does your business impact the community? How does it impact the stakeholders, the owners, the shareholders of the company, the employees of the company? How do they win? Every adding zeros company takes into account all 5 of these. So you've got the 5 areas you need to get performance in: sustainable, predictable, stable, consistent, emotive connection. You've got the 5 constituents: the company, the customers, the team, the stakeholders, and the community. And you've got the 5 disciplines. So if we look at the 5 disciplines, that of strategy, business development, people, execution, and mission, and say, okay, how does all of this fit together? And that, my friends, is the secret behind adding zeros. I'm going to show you over the rest of this webinar how to fit together all of these, how you can build that great business. Now, yeah, you need to read the book to get all of the details, of course, but what we're doing here is giving you the big picture of it. So the 5 disciplines that we're going to work with, let's start with the discipline of strategy, okay? Now, most people, when I talk to them about strategy, get it wrong. They're thinking strategy in terms of, I would say they're more tactical thinking. Like they're saying, oh, we're going to use Facebook advertising. That's a tactic. Or we're going to use this methodology of distribution. That's a tactic. The strategy defines the business overall. The strategy defines how your business is positioned out there in the marketplace. And if we take a look at how it fits into the wheel of adding zeros, strategy leads us to these four major points. And we're going to go through each one of them in detail. How do we sit with all four of these? Opportunity, leverage, scalability, marketability, okay? I'm going to start with strategy, looking at opportunity. What is the size of the market for the product or the service that you are bringing to the market? In your business, have you done, or in your organization, have you done an analysis of the size of the market? What is the size of that market? Now, you got to look at it geographically. You got to look at it internationally, because a lot of businesses, when I said to them, you got to do 100 million or a billion in your division or in your company, they're sitting looking at it going, well, Brad, here in my town, there's no way we can do that. It's not a big enough opportunity. Well, great. How big do you need to go? What geographical market do you need to be able to do that? Is even your product or service capable of doing that volume based on the product or service that you're selling? You got to understand that. Again, the book, I go into detail in this stuff. Let's do marketability next. Marketability is the ease of sell. So for instance, are you selling something that people already know they need to buy? Are you selling something like, if I'm selling computer mouse, people already know they need a computer mouse. If I'm selling a phone case, for an iPhone, people already buying iPhones, they're going to need a case. So it's a marketable product. People already know they need to buy it. The question is getting them to buy it from you rather than someone else. And that, my friends, is the challenge of a lot of businesses, especially startups and especially millennials. They come up with these ideas of this business that is something that no one's ever bought, no one's ever heard of, no one even wants to buy it. And they go, yeah, that's why it's such a great opportunity. Yeah, it is, but it's also a ton harder. If you were into the business of selling trophies, because companies already buy trophies, they already give out awards, these are the sorts of things you got to start thinking through with marketability of the business. So then we look at the two probably most important segments of strategy. We're going to go to leverage first and foremost, because I think this one is of vital importance. And actually, I did just do a drive time on this subject. So if you follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, if we're connected there, even Twitter, any of those, Pinterest, you probably won't find me on Pinterest. I'm not really a crafty person, a business guy. So leverage. My definition of leverage is do the work once, get paid long-term or forever. So think about your business from this perspective. Does your product or service get a customer once and keep them coming back forever? Are they an automatic renewable? Let's take a simple example of that. You're probably using a computer right now. You're either on a PC or you're on a Mac. You look at the PC business. What did when we look at what Microsoft just changed to, they moved their whole strategy, because instead of you getting an upgrade every few years and they have to do a massive launch and do all that, now they've moved to software as a service. So you rent the software and you pay them an annual fee, and hey presto, same as Norton, same as any of those. See, if you look at the strategy of your product or service, you go to even Apple. If you're on a Mac, hey presto, Apple moved from a computer business where you sell one computer, get paid one time, to a music business where now they even have a subscription business. Why did they go out and buy Beats headphones? Because they needed the subscription business that Beats had the ability to do. So you start understanding that leverage is about work once, get paid forever. As an executive or as an entrepreneur, if you're doing work that you work once, get paid once, you're doing low-level employee work. You need to be doing high-level employee work, which is do the work once, get paid long-term, and then ultimate owners work, do the work once, get paid, or CEOs work, do the work once, get paid forever type thing. These are the things that we need to be doing. It's like, again, why did I write the book, Pulling Profits Out of a Hat? Not just to educate, but if you look at it from my side of the fence, and I'm very blunt about this, so I hope you're okay with that, I'd write a book once and I get paid forever. So that's really what we're looking at with leverage. You got to look at your product, your service. How do you do the work once and get paid forever? But then you've also got to look at the business model, okay? And that's where scalability also kicks in, because the business model, if you look at a rental business, it's do the work once, get paid long-term or forever. If you look at a business that's a distribution business, you get a customer once, they keep buying from you long-term forever. There's a lot of businesses that are structurally, the model is designed for that, franchising, licensing. So many business models that are designed for work once, paid forever, subscription-based models, trail-based income, all of these things where that's the model of the business. If your business isn't designed like that, then it's going to be a harder business to build. So then we go to scale, and scalability by definition is the next sale costs less and is easier. Next sale is easier than the previous sale, okay? And so here we are, and it costs less. And if you look at the rental business, I go back to when I was in the rental of white goods and brown goods, fridges, freezers, TVs, you name it, we rented it. And here we are renting out a refrigerator. Well, you get the customer once, they rent it forever. But the first refrigerator was a lot harder to rent out than number 1,000 or number 5,000. You know, it gets easier as it gets bigger. It gets cheaper as it gets bigger. Too many businesses are structured where they're structured around as it gets bigger, it gets harder. You got to get more people. You got to get more, you know, and it's just like, oh my gosh, the scale of your business is just not there. Read the book, get into detail around that one. It's a lot of fun to understand. Once you really understand strategy, once you really get it, and this is why once a year I invite 10 companies here to Las Vegas. They pay 25 grand each. But I do that once a year because I re-strategize their business so that they can go to $1 billion. It's crazy the number of big corporates and the number of even small businesses that could get there if they use the right strategy. Leverage, scale, opportunity, marketability. Read, get the details. Now, why do we want strategy? Because we're looking at a sustainable business. We want to build a solid, sustainable business. That's what strategy is all about. So go back to and relate them together. So let's move through to business development. What is business development? Well, business development really is about three main areas of what you're working on. It's about the marketing, it's about the sales, and it's about the customer service. It's the second part of the wheel of adding zeros. So creating one massive zero needs 5 zeros in the middle to do that. So marketing-wise, sales-wise, customer service-wise, when we look at, and again, go through the book and read any of my other books as well on marketing, when you go into developing a business and you look at the discipline of marketing, and I find this even in the largest of businesses worldwide, the discipline of marketing is not there. They do some marketing, but they don't have a discipline of marketing. There is no set strategy for buying customers, no set number of new customers per week, no actual marketing plan even, other than a very short few-page document that outlines the brand standards type thing. No, that's not marketing. Marketing is about the acquisition of new customers. Marketing is about, you know, my 5 steps to that. Read my book, Instant Cash Flow. But in pulling profits, we go into how to actually create a sustainable marketing system, because it's systematizing the marketing. You want sustainable growth, your marketing must be sustainable and consistent and persistent. If your marketing changes here, up and down, a little bit here, a little bit there, change there, no, it doesn't work that way. We got to have a consistent strategic marketing that works in line with the strategy of our business, that buys customers, it gets customers. If you haven't read my book, Buying Customers on Marketing, do that. Understand it. Then sales must follow on with marketing. Marketing and sales have to work hand in hand. Same with customer service, in fact, because if marketing doesn't help customer service, how do you get the repeat business? If marketing doesn't help sales, how do you get the conversion rates that you wanted? The discipline of business development is working all 3 of those areas. Now, also within the book, we go into in detail how you actually get your numbers in this area, what numbers you should be looking for. Because if you're not getting the numbers, you can't, you know, marketing is really about a mathematical understanding of the business. Because if you spend X on marketing, you got to make Y in sales, and you got to make X in repeat business, and you got to make Z in profitability. You can't spend all that money on marketing if you're not making the sales, making the repeat business, and making the profitability. So business development works in those 3 main areas. And again, we go into detail within the book around that. What we're aiming to do with business development is create a consistent cash flow, or what we call predictability of cash flow within the business. So if you think about the strategy is about what business are we in and what model of business are we using, and how do we actually sell our product or service to the marketplace? How do we do that so it gets consistent repeat business? Business development is then about the actual tactics of marketing, the actual tactics of sales, the tactics of customer service to get that repeat business, because you want to get the leads, convert the leads, get the repeat business, increase that average sale, and make sure you're getting the profitability on every single sale out the back end. That predictability is what gets a company growing at exponential rates. We got to work all of those areas. And interestingly enough, our 12-week program, when adding zeros, when we come into your business and run a 12-week program through all of the adding zero stuff, and then some companies need another 12 weeks just on business development to refine and define their business development. Whichever way you look at it, when we come in and help you develop this in your business, doesn't matter the size of the business, the smallest of business right through to the largest corporate, going through the process of putting this into practice gets you there. So take a look at your business. First of all, strategy, give yourself a score out of 10, give yourself a score. In fact, I'll give you the link in a little while so you can actually go do that and do that. In fact, Eve, if you could just type in the conversation box for everybody, the email that they should send a note to so they can get this free analysis of their business. You can get this and do that. So, and I'm guessing Eve, you can send it out to everybody afterwards as well. Thanks for that. Let's take a look at the third discipline we want to work with, people. Now, I was doing an interview yesterday, and they asked me about the people side of the business. It was actually an interview with Marshall Goldsmith, who wrote the foreword to the book, #1 executive coach in the world. And we were talking about the people side of the business. And as you know from me, if you've ever been with me before, you don't run a business, your people do. You don't run your division, your people do, okay? And if you don't build the people, how can they build the business? So what we're looking at here is 3 areas again. If we're going to build the business, we need to understand that the third part of our wheel is really about how we handle leadership, how we handle talent development and recruitment. So leadership and management, if you take a look at that, building the actual core of the management team, the leadership team, how that structure is done, the systematic methodologies of management and the systematic methodologies of leadership. Too many people see leadership and management as esoteric, as kind of like well, they're a good leader. No, there is a systematic methodology for leadership. There is a systematic methodology for management within an organization. And if you don't follow those systems, you're not going to get the level of productivity out of your people that you want. Remember this, management is about 2 core things and leadership is about 2 core things. Management is about competent, productive people. They got to have competence and they got to have productivity. If they're lacking in productivity, it's a management issue. If they're lacking in competency, it's a management issue. Leadership, on the other hand, is also 2 things. Leadership is building people that have a passion and a focus. So leadership is about passionate, focused people. If they're not passionate, it's a leadership issue. If they're not focused, it's a leadership issue. You've got to know what issue you have. Are you having a management issue or a leadership issue? Go through the whole chapter here on people and understand how we develop that through adding zeros companies. Talent development and recruitment. I'm going to jump to recruitment first, because I think the role of a CEO or the role of a C-level exec or an entrepreneur or a leader of a company is recruitment. It is the #1 biggest job you've got, recruiting the right people to run your business, recruiting the right people to run divisions, recruiting the greatest people. And too few CEOs, too few entrepreneurs even try to learn recruiting. So again, go through it in detail and understand, but I'll give you 3 things I want you to think about for recruiting. #1, it's got to be proactive. You cannot wait until you need a person to hire the person. It takes 30 to 90 days to get someone up to speed. So your business plan must have an HR plan. Your business plan must know, when are we going to need these people? How are we going to need them? And where are we going to get them from? All of that sort of stuff. Second, recruiting is not hiring. Hiring is about putting a job ad in there, help wanted, and getting out there and saying, we found someone, a warm body. No, recruiting is about finding the best of the best. Think of how sporting teams recruit. They go out and find the best of the best. They already have a job. They're not waiting on the sidelines. They're not looking for people who are out looking for a job. They're looking for people that already have a job. Remember that about it. And the third thing with recruitment, if you're lazy with recruiting, you got to do a ton more work in management and leadership. You got to be proactive. You got to be thinking about, where do I find people that already got a job? And you've almost always got to put in a lot of energy and effort to recruiting. Finally, talent development. How are you developing the people in your organization? You cannot double the productivity of a person, or let me put it even simpler. No one outperforms their training. You wouldn't expect it in a sporting environment. You wouldn't expect people to get better in sports without doing a lot of training. Why do we even think it can possibly happen in an organization, a business organization? You must understand, develop your people, you develop your business. That's what it's all about. So why do we want the fourth, hang on, what are we on? Third discipline. Why do we want people? Stability. Great, stable people who've been with us a while. That brings us to the whole point of getting a stable business that works, a stable business that develops the whole process. So then we move on to execution. Here's where management really kicks in. People is more about leadership. Execution is more about management. So if you start thinking of this fourth of the five wheels that we need to make our adding zero, zero come together, the three major points we're looking at in execution: process, management, and financial controls. So management, as I mentioned earlier, competency, productivity. What is the plan? Where is the plan? You must have a plan if you're going to manage to a plan. You can't manage to no plan. You must know where you're going. You got to have the goals. You got to have all of these things in place in order to manage to them. You got to have the key performance indicators in order to manage to them. Again, we go into detail in this in the book, gang, and I know that you've all ordered your book. If you haven't ordered it already, go and order 5 of them. Give them to your people in your company. Order 100 of them. Make sure everyone in the company is reading this so that everyone in the company actually is on the same page. You can't move in the same direction if you're not all on the same page. So management is one segment of it, knowing the plan, knowing where we're going, knowing the goals, knowing the numbers. Financial controls, I'll come back to process. Financial controls, if you're not managing the finances of the business, don't expect execution to be there. The numbers are what creates execution. The numbers tell us when we're off track with execution. The numbers tell us when we're on track with execution. Key performance indicators, key predictive indicators, all of these things tell us what's happening. Key activity indicators. What is going on? Where is it at? What is being done? Then we go to the process side of it. You can call it systems, you can call it process, you can call it there's so many different names for this. But actually having a systematic methodology by which things get done, having a process that happens. Because now I want to be blunt about this. When the business isn't actually growing that much, when the business is not growing a lot, it's pretty dang easy to have processes work, okay? You don't really need to update them, upgrade them, do much with them. The processes are the processes, and the people have been around a while, so we don't really need to upgrade it. Now, when your business moves from that to a high growth business, guess what? The processes are going to need to get more and more strong, more and more streamlined, more and more strength to them. Your processes that worked for 50 people are not going to work for 500. Your processes that worked for 5 new customers a week won't work when you're getting 50 new customers a week. So that's where we have to build the system. And yeah, you start with paper-based and you move to technology-based. And that's ultimately what we have to do. You have to remove the ability for the system to create a problem. You have to remove the ability for there to be excuses in an organization. The processes have to be a permanent removal of any excuse. If there's an excuse that comes up in your organization, then there's no process to handle that. So we got to build that in so that that doesn't come up in any part of the company. All right, let's take this through then. So let's take it through to the reason why we want execution. From execution, what we're developing is consistency, okay? We develop that consistent factor. Again, I'll relate this back to the 5 constituents in a little while, but understand that we want consistency of delivery so the customer can rely on us, they keep paying us, they keep coming back, consistency of delivery. Now, ultimately, then the 5th part of this, and again, none of these are in any particular order. The reason why I did them in this order is just because it seems to work. Ultimately, I could come into your organization tomorrow and you say, hey, Brad, our strategy is strong, our biz dev is strong, but hey, our execution and our mission and our people, we got to work on those 3. You might have 2 of these that are very strong, or even 4 that are very strong, and the 5th one needs work. That's really what we're looking at in this. So mission, what is it all about? Mission is about the word love. And I know people say, well, you can't use the word love in business. Absolutely, I can use the word love in business. In fact, if I don't, then I'm missing the point. See, your customers have to love buying from you. Your team members have to love coming to work with you. If people don't love coming to work, if people don't love buying from you, then you miss the whole point. Mission is about who you are as a company, why you do what you do. You know, who you are and why you do it is of such high level importance. I can't sort of, oh, I can't stress enough how important it is for a corporate entity, for a business, to have a set of values that it lives by. How do you employ people if you don't have a documented set of values? You can't pick people. You got to pick people who have the same values as your company. You got to pick people with that core set of values. People say, oh, I can't find motivated people. That's right, because you're not looking for the people with the same values as you are. You're looking for people with a set of skills. Start with values and everything else works. Your customers. If you find customers with the same set of values, it's far easier to do business with people that value the same things you do than it is to do business with people. If people value cheap and fast, then and you're a company that's more expensive and does great things, you got to say that. You can't have the values that mismatch your customer. Purpose. What is the ultimate purpose of the business? I know when I started in the whole business coaching business, and I sat down and wrote the vision of world abundance, creating world abundance through business re-education, a purpose that people want to be a part of. You know, it's got to inspire people. It's got to enroll people. Here at Adding Zeros, we're looking at creating great companies that have great exponential growth, but we're doing it with a purpose of giving. See, think about this. Our organization is helping you grow your organization. Our organization is helping you make people's day better, your team members, your customers. And finally, part of mission is giving back. Companies with exponential growth are givers of companies. They just give. Whether it's in their local community, it doesn't have to be in a way that's aligned to their business, but it has to be in a way that their people feel good about being a part of that organization. How do you give back? What part of that? Now, add all of these 5 things together. And again, read to get all the details on this again. We want to make all of this work together. Mission gets us to the point of having that emotional connection. Yes, the word love. I know it's crazy for me to be saying it, love in business, but that's what it is. People love coming to work. People love buying from you. That way you get the things that come about. So when we sit down and start putting all of this together, the strategy, its 4 main areas, biz dev, its 3 main areas. What we're working at there is dealing with the company. The constituent that we're helping fulfill what they need is the company. That there's money coming in, we're doing the right business, the right core strategy that goes to work. How this all fits together, let's keep going. And again, the book goes into detail on this. So business development and the human side of our business, the people, the leadership, talent, and recruitment, that then goes to work at satisfying the constituent of our customer. Great business development with great people takes care of the customer. It makes sure the customer has a wonderful experience with our company. Now, when our people and our execution work real well, then our team is feeling great about our business. The team members feel strong because they're doing a good job, they feel good about where they work, and they're getting great results. And finally, we take a look at the mission and we say the stakeholders, where execution and the mission come together, the stakeholders make a great result. And when strategy and mission come together, the community gets a great result. So ultimately, when we sit down and we start looking at it, yeah, you can draw this up on your page, or you can just take a look at it in the book. We've got it all sitting there. When all of these things come together, what we're saying is that this business is really about getting results for all 5 stakeholders. This business is going to be an adding zeros company where the community, the stakeholders, the team, the customer, the company, all 5 constituents are living and breathing a great result, and the company starts to grow exponentially. As each of those 5 circles expands, the adding zeros gets bigger and bigger there, right there in the center. So what do we need to do from this? By the way, if you do have any questions and you've typed them in, I'm going to get Eve to take a look at it and let me know any questions that have come up in just a moment. But I want you to start thinking about all 5 areas for your business. What is it that you're aiming to achieve? How is it that you are going to do these things in your business and grow it? Yes, you got to read the book first. Today has really been about giving you an overview and an understanding of how pulling profits works together. So think about this perspective, okay? To grow your business, you've got to have the 5 results happening. You've got to have sustainable, predictable, stable, consistent, emotionally connected organization. You've got to have that stuff happening day in, day out, and you've got to be there. You've got to take care of the 5 constituents. You've got to take care of the 5 disciplines and get to work on those 5 disciplines. If you want one of our Adding Zeros coaches to come into your organization, help you work with us, shoot us a note. Jump on our website, addZerosNow.com or pullingprofits.com. So what do you need to do right now? Well, first and foremost, I think you should buy the book, all right? Or start reading it if you already bought it. If you already bought it, thanks. Actually, if you've already bought it, please give us a shout out on social media. Take a photo of yourself with the book or do a boomerang of you pulling the book out of a hat, okay? If you can do a boomerang of you pulling the book out of a hat, we'd love that. And hashtag us pulling profits, okay? Give us that hashtag of pulling profits. Show us the photo. And by the way, just for me personally, I love seeing my book in bookstores, but I don't get to enough of them. If you see it in a bookstore, please take a photo and shoot it to me on social media or put it up and tag me on it, will you? What we're going to do now is, hang on, back one. There we go. I'm going to give you the 5 disciplines assessment for your company, okay? So this is free. So jump on Add Zeros now, or we can send you the link. If you want to get the link, we can. I'll get Eve to send that through to you. Or Eve, if you can tell people what is the email address to get that link sent through to everybody. If you can just jump on and tell everyone that for me.
Yeah, so it's info@addZerosNow.com, and I've also put it in the chat, so you should just be able to click there and copy paste that into your email and request it. And Monty White's team will send that assessment out to you right away.
Fantastic. So dead easy, info@addZerosNow.com. Jump on that and you will give you that complimentary assessment so that you can start to learn where your business is at, where you need to do it. Final thing I want to end with is a very simple thought, okay? And then I'll take any questions we've got. Let me see if I can pull up the questions on my screen. If your business isn't adding zeros, if your business is trying to live with status quo, then technically it's going backwards. Your competitors are catching you and beating you. And, you know, you've got to be always in growth mode. You've always got to be thinking about growth and what you're aiming to do. So let me jump to a couple of questions here. The first one, Brad, I run a division of a large corporate. Okay. Okay. So running a division of a large corporate, you got to think of yourself as the CEO of that division, obviously. I'm sure that you are profit responsible. And any entrepreneur or any C-level exec that is profit responsible has to think in the exact same way. You can within that division. So the question is, how do I use strategy within my division? Because the whole company, listen, sometimes strategy is set from the top down and things, and sometimes we have to change the strategy up in our division. Start looking at your division and thinking of it that way and start working with that. Fill in the questionnaire actually and have Monty and one of the team have a chat with you about that. I think that you'll find that it's very important to understand that what we're aiming to do here is treat your division as exactly that. So make sure you do that. Next question, strategy. Okay, so the question here is basically on strategy. What if we don't really understand how to create a different strategy? Okay, first of all, read in depth the book because I go into detail around it. Second of all, strategy is more about thinking. Let me give you a simple example of strategy and so that you can understand it a bit better. Think of this. Imagine you went into the music business, right? And you could go into the music business and be a musician. So you could be in a band. You could be that person that's, you know, playing the songs. You could be that person, right? Or you could be the owner of the band. You know, it's Bon Jovi. Well, John Bon Jovi's the main guy type thing, and so you've managed the band. Or you could be the bar that brings bands in, or you could be the festival organizer that brings bands in, or you could be the band manager, or you could be the promoter, or you could be the music company, the label, or you could be Amazon, or you could be Spotify. You see how there's a strategy at every different level within the music business. And that's the same for every level of other business. You know, you look at the difference between McDonald's strategy of real estate purchasing and massive business across the world and owning their own farms to buy the potatoes and stuff, down to another person that has a little hamburger joint down the road. Two entirely different strategies. So think of strategy as that from which you really and yeah, if you have to, apply to come to my course here in Vegas, and we'll look at it from that perspective, or chat with one of the coaches. Time for one last question, I think, before we have to finish up. Business development. Okay, just reading the question for you. Okay, so in business development, yeah, you've got to start. So let me try and paraphrase. You got to start with marketing. If your marketing is right, then your sales got to get right, then your customer service got to get right. But flip it around. If your customer service is really strong, you've got massive repeat business. See, really, business development is about two things: getting and keeping. Getting customers, keeping customers. That's really what business development is. Two core things. How do I get them? How do I keep them? Marketing helps you get and keep. Sales helps you get and keep. Customer service helps you get and keep, because great customer service leads to referrals, so it gets you new business, okay? So you got to be thinking of it that way. I'd like to think, you know, with marketing and sales and customer service today, the greatest judge of great marketing, great customer service, and great sales is how many times people are mentioning you on Instagram or on Facebook. Like, if you're on this webinar today, and I'd love you to go and give me a 5-star rating on Facebook. I'd love to get you to give me a shout out. Tell the world that you're reading my book and that you love what you're reading. These are the sort of things that we look at, you know, the testimonials, the ratings. That's really a great judge today of a great business. How often are you getting mentions on social media? I think that's a big part of it. Anyway, I'm going to hand back over to Eve to finish us out for the day. But listen, I hope you've enjoyed adding zeros. I hope you enjoy working and reading through Pulling Profits. And my biggest hope is that you get great results. Once you get results, or once you've read the book, jump on Amazon. Give me a rating and a review on there. Jump on my LinkedIn, connect with me on Facebook. Give me a rating on Facebook. Hey, anyway, add zeros to your business. Think exponential. That's what we got to keep doing. Bye for now. Look forward to chatting to you again soon. By the way, if you do have any friends that want to be on this, I am going to do this webinar again later today for the other side of the planet to be their time zone. Let them know we're doing this. Thanks. Eve, back to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Brad. And thank you for everyone attending today's Pulling Profits webinar. As Brad mentioned, we will be having another webinar with Brad. It starts at 4 p.m. Las Vegas time. And so today we do hope you enjoyed your learnings. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all your questions with Brad, but again, you can jump on this afternoon's, or just go ahead and email info@addZerosNow.com for any questions that you might have about the Pulling Profits book, and also to take advantage of the complimentary disciplines assessment that Monty Wyatt and his team can send out to you. Please note that I will be sending out a replay to everyone who's registered for this webinar, just so that you can rewatch it or share these learnings with others that you know can find this information beneficial. That is all we have. And again, thank you for attending, and make it a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.